Hey guys, welcome to Jermaine Morgan TV. You're watching Grooves and Motivation Live, and I'm going to talk to you today about what if you're doing it wrong. That's a great question. I think we all should visit from time to time. So, without further ado, stay tuned. All right. B.E. Woolcock, I see you in the chat already. Good morning to you, and thank you for chiming in. Royce City, Texas. Is that correct? But yeah, thank you for chiming in, and anybody else who's chiming in out there, be sure to let me know in the chat where you're watching from. As I always say, it's always super cool to see where you guys are checking in from around the world. But yeah, we wanted to jump right into this thing. Hopefully, man, hopefully everybody had a great Thanksgiving holiday or whatever you celebrate. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed yourself. I know this time of year could be difficult for some people, but hopefully you enjoyed yours. I know I really enjoyed mine. I got the opportunity to go back to Mississippi and be around family, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. I ate good. I went home down, to the mom's house, and I ate good. And I probably ate too much. Let's be honest. I probably ate too much. And we're gonna take the probably off of it and just go ahead and say I ate too much. But we're working it off now. So, nonetheless, I had a really great time and really enjoyed being down there around familiar faces and that kind of thing. So it's really cool. But without further ado, let's jump into this groove. I was playing through this. I'm gonna kind of loop around some things this morning. This is one of my original songs off of my Dreams Work Reality Part 2 record, the Jermaine Morgan Band. The name of this song is called The Good Work that I'll be kind of looping and playing around with today. So yeah, that's the one that I'm going to be playing around with. So let me play a little bit of that, and we'll see where this goes. Let me move this little thing here so I'll know what I'm looping first. All right. So yeah, we're going to play around with this. Good morning, everybody. I see you, Sean. Sean from Zion. Praying your Thanksgiving Day was blessed. Man, it was blessed. Davidson Perry, I see you from the UK. Whoever else is joining us this morning, good morning to you. Hopefully you guys can hear this track all right. I tried to adjust my volumes and everything before I went live, so hopefully we're good. All right, let's play around with these drums a second. Trying to get my fingers together. I was playing the drums earlier. Got my hands tired. I'm gonna find a different section. I'm gonna go back to this A section of the song. Go back to E flat. I see you long says those riffs and runs are not in your licks and riffs library course. Yeah, it's some different stuff. So again, y'all be coming into live practice sessions. So if you're new to me, I would say I apologize, but it is what it is. Sorry guys. this is this is my time to just kind of explore some ideas, and I figured I'd bring you along for the ride. I was playing around this morning with some of these ideas, not to get too deep into bass theory right now, but just kind of looking at some stuff that I've been practicing on for I've been playing it, but just kind of digging more into it, like the Lydian dominant scale. Some of what I was playing, just kind of what you can play over that. We had that E flat dominant chord, and we can like literally use that. Using an E flat dominant. That's a little tip for you guys that always be asking me stuff. But yeah, that's using Lydian dominant. Some of you guys might think of it as like that whole tone, half tone scale. I've heard it called that as well. But I guess the technical name for it is like Lydian dominant. So yeah. And another thing you can do that's really cool over that, like you can take the relative minor and do like the relative. Let's say if we're playing, we can do it from that C sharp. Sorry, not from the C. We can use it there too. So like and somebody asked me on one of my other videos, is your bass tuned like a semitone down? Yeah, it is. It's tuned to B flat. That's why I'm going back and forth. Sometimes I have to think about what I'm playing because I teach with my bass tune standard. Like I teach on like a 4 or 5 string that's tuned standard, and I prefer to play flat. So I'm normally going back and forth in my brain. So if you see me guessing wrong note every now and again, just charge it to my head, not my heart. Always switching back and forth. So yeah, so like using that, like I'll play it over this groove. So we got that like E flat dominant, right? So if I take that Lydian dominant, just playing it as a regular scale, nothing fancy. Right? And so if I take that same thing and do it over C, over the E flat, it was almost working. So you gotta like almost force it to work in a sense. That's not where I used it earlier. So let me think. Give me a second. Let me get my brain together. Yeah, it works. It's a slightly different sound, but we can get away with it. Especially if we start doing that, like using that the E flat 7, like at like 11, sharp 11. So. My hands is like feeling weird. I don't know if any of you guys ever experienced it. I've been having trouble out of my left hand lately. So I've been kind of working through that. So you see me struggling this morning. My left hand, I stretch, but probably not nearly enough. So you guys, I don't know what it is about getting over 35 and up and 40. It's like your hands, you have to really like work on your hands because sometimes your hands tighten up on you. So yes, I do deal with that. Not any necessarily pain. Every now and again I have some pain, but nothing strenuous that caused me not to play. But I notice my stretching at times. I have to really work and warm my hands up because my hands get really, really tight and it's hard to really stretch. Like I got big hands, as y'all can clearly see, but it's hard to sometimes stretch across those notes. So I'm like McFumbleton right now because I'm like working through my hands tightening up on me. So yeah. But we can use that. It's a different sound. So I'll play it slow and see what it sounds like in context. So like I said, it's a different tone. And the thing I like to do with it, with when I'm doing that C, because it's weird, is kind of finish it off with something that people know. That way you have that like tension and release type idea happening. Yeah, you probably got a little chord clashing that's happening in there. But you know, as long as you get back to like the main thing, make the main thing the main thing, you can stretch out there a little bit. If you're looking for some tips on how can I stretch and come back in, like that's the way you do it. Taking that Lydian dominant, or for lack of better words, like whole half tone type scale. Right, I'm doing that over C. I'm in the key of E flat dominant. Now I can do the same thing, E flat Lydian dominant. Now what I'm playing with the C, some theory heads might tell you it don't work, but I'm doing it anyway, so because y'all can write me up, right? So let me do it in context over the C. So I'll do it again. And what I normally do, I'll keep working around with it until I find something that I feel really, really good about that I want to use. I'm like, oh yeah, nice. So what you're hearing me doing now is a lot of exploring and experimenting with like different ways to play it, because I ain't necessarily landed on what I really want yet. So I'll just keep playing around with it, and then I lock on something that I really like. Then I start playing variations of that. Generally, when I kind of practice these concepts and these ideas, like I said, it's the Lydian dominant. I didn't know the name of it. I have been playing it for years, and it's not something I really fully explored. So now I'm like intentionally digging in to explore it a little bit more and see, okay, what else can I pull out of this? So that's kind of what you're hearing right now. All right, I see how I can connect them. So I don't really have to like start from the root. And we can do that E flat the same way. I'm trying to wake this left hand up. Goodness. P. Santa Boogie says, do you think of the Lydian dominant as the fourth mode of the melodic minor scale? Not necessarily. I mean, it can be. Well, I guess I'm thinking about the just the Lydian mode. When I said not necessarily, I was thinking immediately about the Lydian mode. But I guess so. You can think of it that way as the fourth mode, because the Lydian definitely falls in that fourth position. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, you can do that. You getting real deep in that theory on me this morning, P. Santa Boogie. You got me thinking, man. Greetings from Argentina. Facundo, if I'm saying that correct. Good morning to you. Glad that you're here. So yeah, we're just playing around. And to be honest, I say this all the time, but I'm truly not thinking that much when I'm playing. I literally turn my brain off. And so that's why I have to, when I'm working on new ideas and new concepts, I have to like really work them into my muscle memory because I don't want to think about it when I'm playing it live. When I'm playing it in real time, and you come up there and ask me, "Did you play just such and such?" I don't know. I don't know what I just played. I'm gonna just be honest with you. I don't know. Like now, if I take time out and sit down with it, yeah, and I just break it down, I can explain it to you. But if I start thinking theory, my brain like, all right, bro, I'm out. I'm gonna go over here and sit down, and you figure that out. It's like so, my brain will leave me on my own if I start thinking theory while I'm playing. Now, if it's a situation where I'm trying to teach it and show it to somebody, of course that's a no brainer there. But when I'm playing it, to me, it keeps the flow easy. It's like you learn this stuff and forget it. You know, you learn all this theory stuff and you learn what it means. And to me, better than learning what it means is like learning what it sounds like and learning how I can incorporate it. I don't get too deep into the whole. If any of you have been around for any amount of time, you heard any of my lessons. Like I try not to get too deep into the analytical side of everything. I see how it because it didn't work for me. I learned theory like 20 something years ago, maybe more, maybe almost. How old am I? I'm 40. So so yeah, about 20 years ago, I took music theory in college, and it never made any sense to me at the time when I took it. So I had to kind of back away from it and figure out how to learn it. So now I'm teaching my daughter things that I learned over the years, and the way that I'm teaching her is so simple. You know, it's like, okay, this is spell this chord out for me. Okay, all right, you got it. Cool. All right, so if you take this, this, and this is how you get that chord, and it makes sense. My daughter's 10 years old, and the things that I'm explaining to her now, as far as theory, she understands. She gets it, and she can remember it, and she can apply it. That's the biggest thing. When I took music theory, of course, on paper you had to be able to apply it because you have to be able to write it out and all this kind of stuff to get the grade. But I knew it on paper to enough to pass the test, but I didn't know how to apply it to the instrument because we took theory separate from the instrument. Like the music teacher would go over and play something on the piano every now and again and show us, okay, this is this scale, and he show it to us. He'll play it on the board. But as far as putting it in the context where I really understood it, it was more difficult for me. So all that being said, I take a more simpler approach when it comes to understanding certain things. I learn things in theory as it relates to what I'm playing and what I'm trying to add. As I learn something new, I immediately try to apply it to music, not just to have a whole bunch of knowledge. Okay, this is the Lydian, and this is the Lydian dominant, and this is that. For me, that's gonna confuse me when I try to play. I'll never use any of that. But if I'm playing something and I learn a concept, like, oh, this is what this sounds like, you know, let. Oh yeah, that's great. How can I use that, right? And so I immediately try to find a piece of music that I can use that in. So like if we're doing it in E flat, like okay, let me find a piece of music and see how that sounds against that piece of music, you know? And I'll work it in with my regular vocabulary. And of course the flubs come with it. But as I'm doing that, I begin to learn. I get it under my hands. I start working it into my vocabulary. I think that's the place where a lot of I didn't mean for this to be a teaching lesson. It is what it is. I think that's the place where a lot of musicians, especially bass players, because that's what I deal with a lot, we mess up at we learn something new and we don't work it into our vocabulary along with the things we already play. We try to separate it and learn and work on that one little thing, but we don't never incorporate it into the things that we play. So now it's like separate from your muscle memory that flows. Like we have a muscle memory for each individual thing, and then we kind of have a flow muscle memory. Like once we start playing a certain thing, allowing that to flow into what we're already doing, right? So like for me, this is one of my go-to flow line. I'll start. Like I can move that around the bass pretty fluently in any key. That's not the only thing. This is one of them. Like so, figuring out something to work into that so that now I'm connecting all of the things that I learned. So in time, everything that I play gets bigger and bigger. And now you have a whole bunch of ideas to pull from, and you don't just play one little lick that's like a bar long, and then it's broken up, and then you got to find something else. Like, nah, we want all of these ideas to flow together. Steven, what's up, man? Good to see you on here this morning. So let's jump into this little talk. I'm gonna try to make it really, really short. But yeah, so the thing is, what did I have here? I pull my notes back out. What if you're doing it wrong? What if you're doing it all wrong? I've been having some great what if you're doing it the wrong way? That's the technical topic that I had. But I've been having some really great conversations with great people lately. And one of the things I heard a quote this morning. I told my friend that I was going to use this quote. He says something really, really profound. He says, one of the greatest tools that I ever met or ever came across was the mind of an experienced person. I like, man, I am still in that. And that's bars from George Barnett, a good friend of mine. But anyway, he says, one of the greatest tools that I ever came in contact with was the mind of an experienced person. Now, that's great. In my opinion, that's really, really great. And it's a great tool to pull from. And it's twofold, in my opinion, because that can be a really great thing and it can be a really great asset. And it can be a detriment if you're not careful. So before people start sticking their chest out because, yeah, I'm experienced, it's like, but that's your problem. So let's kind of deal with both of them. So the wisdom of an experienced person, especially when you're coming into something that you're not familiar with. Case in point, coaching, bass coaching. One of the things I feel like is super helpful for any new student that's starting out with anything. We can take it to bass coaching, we can take it to sports, whatever the case may be. There's a coach who's done what you're trying to do, and they have a different perspective. They have a different vantage point, and you're able to leverage their wisdom. You're able to leverage their experiences from their coaching you. Because if they're coaching you based on the experiences that they've had that's now new to you. You apparently haven't had enough of these experiences to know how to respond in this type of situation, right? I remember when I was learning how to drive a truck a long time ago, my brother did most of the teaching, driving 18-wheeler, and my uncle helped me out some. But I think I remember getting the most learning from my brother, my dad, and my uncle, so those three. But a lot of the times when we would come into certain scenarios, certain situations, okay, you got to start doing this. Like if you're backing up, anybody ever drove a truck, you already know when you're backing into a dock, that can be like nerve-wracking. It can be really, really, you don't want to hit a trailer. There's a lot of stuff. One of the things that they told me is like, it doesn't matter how good you are, especially my brother. He really pushes this point. He said, it doesn't matter how good you are. You always want to get out and look. Like when you're getting ready to bag. So some of y'all truck drivers that are on here, maybe you can give me an amen to that. But it doesn't matter how good of a driver you are. When you get ready to back in, always get out and look, because you never know. Anything could happen. You can miscalculate something, and it's better to get out and go back and look at something just to make sure. If you got to get out 3 or 4 times, no embarrassment, just get out and go and look, because you'll do yourself a better service by taking the time, not getting in a hurry, getting out and looking before you damage something, before you tear up something, before you accidentally run into somebody before you got, by the time you got your truck set up to back in, somebody could have got behind you. You know what I'm saying? Somebody could have, car could have pulled in there and they got out talking. It could be a number of things that you don't know because there's a lot of blind spots when you're driving a truck, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things you have to kind of be conscious of when you're driving. So I see Big Dub. I see you. So it's some things you want to take into consideration. So I take that from the experienced trucker. Now, with that being said, he wouldn't have been able to share that with me unless he's either himself experienced something happen because he didn't look, or he knows something that happened to another driver that backed up and they didn't get out and look. You know what I'm saying? Or stuff that they've seen. The whole point of it, the theme of it is their experiences have shown them things that your inexperience hasn't shown you. Maybe you weren't able to see this when you was in the simulator, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing, because there's certain things, like even when I tell some of my students in base coaching, I'm like, you definitely need to get out and play with people, because there's some things I cannot teach you in this room, or some things when we're like face to face on camera or something like that. There's some things I just can't teach you. I can tell you, but there's some things you're going to learn in the moment, and the experiences from those other people, we can leverage those things. When we get to those moments, like certain things I told you to look out for, just say, if you are playing and I say, okay, if they switch the key on you all of a sudden, just remember to do this right here. And so by me giving you that heads up from my experience, it gives you some leverage to handle that situation a little better instead of falling on your face because you didn't know anything. But you have to be willing to the point of what I'm talking about today. What if you're wrong? You have to be willing to realize that maybe you're not right in what you think in order to receive that. Because if I go at it, just say, let's take it back to the truck driver scenario, because I want this to be broad for anybody to understand. If I come with the mindset of, from a truck driver standpoint, that, well, when I was taking my test or when we were doing simulation, I guess they do simulation now. I made my license like 20 years ago. I don't know. So, but when they're doing simulation, it's like, well, they told us to do this. And if this happened, they told us, like, I know they told you to do that, but they couldn't account for this right here happening. Another thing, like I tell young people who are going to school for music, production and all that type of thing, by the time I finished school, I went to University of North Alabama. I graduated there with a commercial music degree, whatever, bachelor's in the science of music, commercial music, whatever being the emphasis. And one of the things that we were taught all of this stuff in these classes concerning the music industry. But when I got to Atlanta, it was a rude awakening, because all of the stuff that I learned in the classroom, they were looking at me like, who is this dude? Like, so y'all are doing it? No, we don't do that. Like, well, but if a person who's been in the music industry for a while had the opportunity to have a conversation with me, and I could have asked them those questions, they could have told me, yeah, they don't do that down here. I know they probably taught you that in school, but this is not how that goes. Once you get into the real world, once you get into the music industry, you start to see that some things don't work as you thought they would. So you might have got 100 on the test when you took it and you knew all the answers, but what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? You know what I'm saying? You can be right, but still be wrong. So the idea you want to have is when you come into new situations, you want to be able to kind of leverage that information of people who've already done it. Now, on the flip side of that, there are people, going back to the quote, one of the greatest tools that I ever came in contact with was a person or an experienced person, right? Coming in contact with the tools of an experienced person. They have experience. Sometimes your experience, negative experiences, or even positive for that matter, because I heard Miles Monroe say something. He said that the enemy to progress is your last success, right? So if you want to get in the way of your own progress, keep talking about what you did before, and that's going to stop and slow down your own progress. So sometimes our experience can get in the way of us exploring new ideas, exploring new territories, seeing what else would work. I had something recently to happen, and I took the wisdom of somebody that hasn't been doing this particular thing that I've been doing as long as I have, But because of my experiences, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing X, Y, Z, this, that, and the other. And this, we've had those conversations before, but this particular person told me, he's like, look, I believe because of X, Y, and Z. And lately I've been kind of into this stuff. As a matter of fact, I've done it myself. He's been doing it way least amount of time than I have. He said, look, I had certain success in this particular area. And I believe if you try this, it's going to work for you. And I took him at his word, because what I've started to do is people that I value and I value your conversation, I'm not going to let you waste your words on me. So I took him at his word and I did it, and I've gotten amazing results from the thing that he mentioned to me to do. Now, keep in mind, I've done these types of things before and it didn't work. So in my mind, before now, I was like, I ain't doing that. Yeah, you can go on with that somewhere, because I ain't doing that. I know that's great grammar right now, but I ain't doing it. So that's really the mindset that I had about it. But it's like I decided to listen. What if I'm doing it the wrong way? What if the way that I've been going about it is the slower route? It works for me, but it's like I'm inching when I could be coasting. Like I could really be doing things at like 100% capacity as opposed to doing it at 10% capacity and using less effort. Now, the thing that the guy told me to do was way less energy and way less effort involved in the stuff that I typically do. So I'm like, wait a minute. Now I put out 20% effort and got 100 times the return. And over here, I'm normally doing like 100 times effort, getting 20% return. So you know what? I might need to rethink some things, right? I might need to rethink some things, and I might need to revisit this thing because this actually works. So you really have to question the things you're doing. Like, look at the results of what you've been doing up to this point. You fill in the blank of what that thing is. Now, it could be you're practicing on this instrument. It could be something that you're doing at a job, and you got somebody who is less experienced than you coming in there, and they're trying to give you some advice on, hey, you could try this and do more work in half the time. You like, I've been doing this job for 30 years. You're not going to come in here and tell me, what works. But sometimes our ego and our experience can work against us. So that's a two-sided thing. When we look at the idea of an experienced person having great tools, they do. But we have to be careful that at the same time, I had something recently that I had to do, and somebody from experience had they had a bad experience in a particular area, and they were telling me, well, I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but I wouldn't do X, Y, and Z because last time I dealt with them, they did this, they did this, they did this. Well, what I'm learning is your scenario is completely different from everybody else's. Consider the wisdom of the people who've done it before. Consider it. But at the end of the day, you have to ultimately make your own decision about what's going to work. Now, this recent thing that I talked about, I know I'm not giving y'all specifics, but I'm sorry about that. This recent thing that I done, I had to try it for myself because it was just a theory. Just hearing this person say it and it worked for them, because I've done that before where I tried something that somebody told me because it was working good for them, and then I got in it and it was a flop. Like, man, bro, especially losing money, investing in stuff. Like, I've done that before, and maybe some of you have as well. Invested into something, and it's like it went belly up as soon as you put your money in there. So it's like, yep, not doing that no more. We have to be careful. With what you say you're not going to do, right? Making sure that your own experiences don't get in the way of your success. Because what if you deciding, hey, I'm not going to do that? That's wrong. What if your decision is wrong, right? You're doing something over and over and over again. You get no results. It's kind of like, it takes me, there's a passage in the Bible where Jesus talked to these fishermen. And it was like they've been toiling all night and they getting ready to come in. He told them, look, cast your net to the other side. These are skilled fishermen. Like, this is what we do. Bro, you're not finna, like, this is what we do. This is our thing, man. We know this. We know fish. We know when to fish. We know all this type of stuff. And what you talking about, I don't know what that's about. But they listened. They went against their own logic. They went against what they thought they knew. and they cast their nets to the other side. And if you know the story, they caught so much fish they had to like ask for the other person in the boat next to them afar off to look, come over here and help us, man. We about to sink because we got so much fish. Look, you can get some of the fish, but just help us so we don't end up losing everything. We don't lose the fish and all. They had to basically end up sharing the fish with somebody else because they listened to the wisdom of somebody who had a different perspective or who had a different who had different success in that area. So sometimes it's important that we're open. We're open to listen to people. And I think it's great to even kind of build a community of like-minded people who are forward thinkers around yourself, because sometimes you can get some wisdom from people who think just they're like-minded, but they think just a little bit different. You know, on the days that you're down, they might be up. So they might have something on the days that you're saying, you know what, I'm done. And they might be that person and say, hey, man, cast your net on the other side. There's something over there. Like you're about to give up too quick. You're about to walk away from one of the biggest catches of your life because you've been toiling with this thing. You've been working with it so long, you're about to quit. So that's why I even encourage some of you newer bass players, get some coaching. Get some bass coaching. Get some lessons. Do something, because some of y'all about to quit. You know, whatever instrument that you play, it might be bass for some of you guys. It might be piano. It might be drums. Might be whatever. Whatever it is you're doing, before you quit, if you're an entrepreneur, before you quit, see if you can glean from the information or the wisdom of somebody else. They might give you some little things, some little tweaks. If you make it here, make it there, that might change everything for you. And I can honestly say that's been the case for me in a lot of areas lately, getting wisdom from people and just making a little tweak here and a little tweak there has made all the difference in the world. So just again, to bring the subject back, what if you're doing it the wrong way? You could be doing the right thing, but you can completely be doing it the wrong way. The fisherman was doing the right thing. They knew how to fish, but apparently they was on the wrong side of the boat the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Cast your net over here. You're used to putting your net on this side. Yeah, because normally this is what goes on. Well, this ain't a normal basis. And so you have to be sensitive to those times to recognize when you're in a different place, when you're in a different season, and knowing that everything is not always the same. Just because it didn't work yesterday don't mean it's not going to work today. So don't be so sure of everything, because we don't know. Life changes, man. Stuff happens, stuff changes, and you don't know what could happen, what could come up, what could come of it. I'll be honest with you. I did an event back home while I was there. And if you were in the area of Mississippi and you missed the Music and Money, shame on you. You should have been there. But I was sharing some things with some people, and I heard some feedback from several folks and some light bulbs going off from people, because they've been going at music all these years, doing things and just missing money. Been doing the right thing, playing music. But it's like, what if you've been going about it the wrong way? What if I talked to this a friend guy down there, younger guy, he's a drummer. So I talked to him, and I was making a scenario with people. This is one of the examples I gave at the talk. I was talking with him, and I was saying, I asked a question in the room. I said, how many of you guys have gotten a call in the last year to record something and you weren't set up to record? And then the drummer, he was one of the several people that raised their hands, and I just picked on him because I knew him. I said, about how many calls did you get over this past year? He said, about 8 or 9, somewhere in there. And I was like, so I made a scenario. I said, how much money do you think you probably lost this year? Because he never really thought of it that way. I said, how much money do you think you probably lost? He said, I don't know. It's like, I said, so let's, hypothetically speaking, let's say this. Let's say each one of those recording sessions paid $200 for you to record, right? That's a little middle of the road, for an independent artist. That's a little middle of the road budget, right? $200 for recording. I said, so just hypothetically speaking, each one of those paid $200. Over the last year, how much money did you lose from not having your own setup to record? He said, about $1,600. I said, all right. So, And I asked, we were in a music store, and I asked the guy in the music store who owned the music store, I said, about how much does a set of drum mics? I said, because you already got a computer and all that stuff, right? He said, yeah. I said, so about how much does a set of drum mics cost? He said, oh man, a couple $100, and we can get you set up with an interface and all that kind of stuff. So I said, so let's say $300-400 on the low side that you could have spent. You could have profited $1,300 that you didn't make this year. I said, and then I asked him, I said, could you have used $1,300 or $1,600? Man, yeah. It's like for some people, that don't sound like a lot of money. It is when you losing it. I guarantee you, if you lose $1,600 out of your account this year, you're going to feel it. You might not think much about it when it's coming in, but if you feel it going out, it's like, man, I had to mess around, have your car break down, you spend $1,600 and you'll feel it, right? So the idea that I was telling him is like sometimes we can just be looking over opportunities that are right there. And because we don't take them seriously, you're not counting up the loss every time. And then I took it a step further with him. I said, all right, so for those 8 people who asked you about recording drums, imagine if all of those people had told one person about the work that you done, how good it was. Now, how much money did you lose? It was like 32. And I'm like, that's just one track. If each one of those 8 people had you to cut multiple tracks, now we get into a whole, he's like, you ain't got to keep going up, man. I get it. So he was able to see from a different vantage point how much money he's leaving on the table, how much money he's losing potentially because he wasn't set up, because he's been looking at his music one way, live performance, playing gigs, that kind of thing. Or if I get called to a session, I'll go to somebody else's studio and record. Okay, that's cool. But how much money are you leaving on the table with your own setup at home? Because there's people like me who might need something all of a sudden, and I'll just randomly call you, and there's the work. I call the people that I know who are set up to do the work, especially if it's something that I'm needing a quick turnaround on. So producers, you just never know what you're going to miss out on when you're not set up, when you don't have everything in place. So let this be a lesson to you. Hey, don't do it the wrong way. Don't just look at this thing one-sided. Don't just wait on an opportunity for somebody to call you. And even looking at it from this standpoint, if you haven't yet started recording yourself and you're a good bass player, you're a good piano player, you're a good guitar player, you're a good drummer, and you haven't yet started to record and edit your own files, you're losing money. I'm gonna just tell you that now. You're losing money because people like myself, producers, are looking for people all the time for random stuff that we have to come up, and we're going to call whoever is available to do the work, who can get it done quickly, who doesn't send terrible files back, So not only is getting your setup important, you got to learn how to work that software. You got to learn how to edit your drum files. You got to learn how to edit your bass files, how to get, like if you're doing punch-ins, how to get clean punch-ins without having that little click sound because you put another track in and you didn't fade it, you didn't crossfade it, all those different things. So if you're not digging into that stuff, you could be losing, you know what I'm saying? You could be losing out. And I would guarantee you, for most of you guys, you probably got at least one person around you who knows this information that will be willing to share it with you. And if you don't have that one person, you got YouTube, tons of videos on YouTube, how to crossfade in whatever DAW you're using, how to crossfade in Logic, how to punch in Logic, how to do this, how to do that. It's like there's so much information now. The playing field has been leveled. There's really no excuse for us not to improve in some form or fashion. And the thing that we're trying to do that continues to add value to ourselves so that we can provide value for others, right? So those are the things we want to be thinking about and asking the question, like, what if I'm doing this the wrong way? What if I'm going about my music career the wrong way? What if I'm going about life the wrong way? Is it something else I could be looking at? I see so many people, even going back home, I'm seeing people that I knew when I was younger or when they were younger, just wasting time, wasting energy, still in the same place. And to me, let's go back to this quote that I said by my friend George. He says, one of the greatest tools that I ever met was the mind of an experienced person. Now, for me, one of the most embarrassing things that I can see on the flip side of that is a person that talks like an experienced person, but has no clue what they're talking about. I know some of y'all run into some of those folks for Thanksgiving. Like they know everything and hadn't done nothing. It's like, bruh, hush. You don't know what you're talking about and you sound really crazy right now. So running into those type of people who like they're the loudest in the room, but they ain't talking about nothing. James Brown got a song said talking loud and saying nothing. You talking real loud, you having a whole bunch of opinion about everything and you don't know anything. You don't read, you don't listen to no audio anything. You're not like you if your education stopped, just say if you went all the way to 12 years through school and you learned what you learned in those 12 years of school and you hadn't educated yourself any more past that other than what you hear on the news and that kind of thing, it's like if you haven't educated yourself any more beyond that, how much value are you really adding to the conversation? Now, you might be skilled in the thing that you do. That's your thing. You're skilled in that. But if they start talking on a different subject, like how, you know, how can you add any value to that conversation if you have no clue or any reference point for what they're talking about? So sometimes there's a quote I think by Abraham Lincoln: "It's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." Les Brown has a saying. He says, "When you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are." So develop your communication. Develop your communication. Learn, listen to other people. Try to learn some nuggets, get some wisdom. So when you open your mouth, you don't lose the deal. It's like, I wanted to work with you, especially musicians. It's like, I wanted to work with this dude until he talked. Once he started talking, it's like, no, I'm good. Right? Don't lose the deal because what you think you know. Because of what you think you know, don't end up losing the deal. All right, let's go through a few of these comments before I end up running out of time here. Corazon, if I'm saying that correct, really good vibes. God bless you. Saludos from Mexico City, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Xander, I'll be trying with these names. I'll be trying. All right. So do you have advice for an older person who is trying to learn bass? The dexterity, the limited time, and just ability to pick things up feels limited. I have also been asked to play at church. Okay. All right. So yes, absolutely. Let me finish your question. He says the church music is CCM, but they have gospel weeks and have more complex arrangements. So I just want to improve, be competent enough to keep up and elevate the music. First of all, I love the attitude. I love the mindset. You're already on the right track. If you're still here, Alexander, the mindset that you have about it is the first thing. That's like you're already way ahead of the curve because there's a desire to improve. There's a desire to, like you said, elevate the music. I think that desire alone helps to push you forward, helps to make you grow, or you'll find the answers. You'll run into the answers that you're looking for. But in terms of dexterity and that type of thing, at this point, you should be playing a lot of songs, trying to learn a lot of songs. I could give you, work on this technique, work on that, all that kind of stuff, which is good, and it will build your dexterity. But at this point, I think in the game, especially if you have to play the church, you need to start learning a whole bunch of songs, like literally pulling those songs apart. And I always talk about this to my students, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The great thing, especially about these recordings nowadays, man, these cats are playing. If you pull that music apart, like really pull it apart, start learning it, start training your ear to pull out and pick out this stuff, the more music you learn, like the proof is in the pudding right there. The more you so-called transcribe this music and learn it, and you do it over and over again, you're going to build up a lot of that stuff that you're looking to build. Now, all the other stuff is going to be the bells and whistles and the cherry on top of the ice cream, right? So, but the foundational things that I think you need to be doing is learning music. The only way you get better at music is playing music, playing a lot more music. And the more hours you can get into learning songs and playing those songs. So not only learning those songs, so it ain't just, all right, I learned the song, let me move on to the next song. No, learn that song and start adding it to your repertoire of music that you play. So when you're going through your jam out time, pull that song up you learned this week. Or if you learned it 2 months ago, pull it back out, go over it, play it again. Make sure that you're hearing everything correctly, because each week, each month, each day, your ear is going to progress. So if you learned a song 2 months ago, you go back to it this month, you might find something that you missed, right? And so the more you do that, the more you begin to work out the kinks in your own playing. You begin to hear things you weren't hearing before. Listen to other instruments in that music. Don't just listen to the bass part, right? Listen to everything in that music and try to pull out as much as you can. And the more you do that, like, don't just focus on CCM songs. If they're having gospel weeks, I would spend probably more time on the gospel stuff just so I'm super solid with it when it comes up, because they're not doing it as often. Well, I need to be doing it twice as often. That way, when they pull it out, I don't feel like I'm the weakest link in the band. I'm not struggling to keep up. I'm fluent with it, because at this point, you might be playing catch up. So you want to do as much as you can do to get ahead of the curve, so you're not falling behind everybody else. So hopefully that will help you. Sean Lewis says, surround yourself with people who will push you and encourage you. That works good for what I just told my guy there. Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to do that. Jason, I'm sorry, man, that my English probably is not helping you understand. I apologize. I got a Southern accent, and there's some words that you probably hadn't seen in your books yet. So sorry about that. You should have a grooves and motivation on using DAW. I think I did that one time. I actually think I did that a while back, where I did a live talking about recording and how I use the recording stuff. I did that. Check my channel. I think I did that on either, might have been season 4. Jermaine Morgan TV season 4. I want to say I want to say it was season 4, Jermaine Morgan TV season 4. So if you look into that playlist, you'll probably find it somewhere in there. How I record bass or something along that lines. So I think I've talked about that before, Sean. Big Dub says that's a great saying. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. I done gave out a couple of quotes today. Never stop learning. Short of Alexander. Got you. I got you, Alexander. That makes sense. That makes sense. Got you. Yes, sir. So I'm glad that you guys got something out of this today. So let's do something different. I normally don't play us out. Well, I'm gonna play us out today, and I'm gonna go back to this groove, because I feel like my hands wasn't doing what I wanted them to do. It's like you're hearing all this stuff in your head, but you ain't necessarily landing it. So I don't like that. I told y'all I'm a perfectionist, and I ain't liking it. So let's try it again. If it's bad again, hey, y'all just go out on it being bad today. Hopefully it wasn't bad though. Hopefully it wasn't bad. But if you're enjoying what you heard so far, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Like this video. Oh yeah. So I didn't get to announce this because I wasn't live. I wasn't live last week. So I've been running a sale on my site where things have been 50% off. Like, all of my bass courses have been 50% off. So if you want any of my bass courses, the sale was supposed to end yesterday or midnight last night, but it's still going on. Shh, don't tell nobody. It's still going on. So right now, if you've ever wanted any of my courses, now is the time to run over to their website and grab what you can. Like, go in there and just snatch all you can. You don't need a code or anything. The prices are already there. They're already marked down. So you better run in there like you're in a Goodwill store and just grab stuff before the prices go back up, because the prices will go back up. So run over to that site now. I have bass play alongs that I've talked about here on YouTube before. I have the Shout Bump bass course. Alexander, I have congregational songs course. I have several bass play along instructionals where I'm breaking down contemporary music. I'm breaking down gospel choir music. I'm breaking down quartet music. I'm breaking down soul music, contemporary gospel. It's a lot of stuff there. So head over to JermaineMorgan.net. What you want to do is click on the Learn tab, and you'll see all of those things drop down, that you can take courses with me from or whatever. So you'll see all that stuff today. And also, I have something on my site called the All Base Bundle. What the All Base Bundle is basically all of my courses, including the monthly membership. But instead of paying monthly for it, you can pay a one-time fee, and that's even half off today. So you can pay a one-time fee, get everything, get access to everything right now for half of what it normally costs. That means literally access to all of my courses and even all of my 200 plus monthly membership lessons. Get access to everything for a one-time fee today. And so grab that before the price goes back up. So don't say I didn't tell you. So anyway, let me see if I can play us out. Let's start back at the beginning of the song. Yeah, I done got out of that loop mode right quick. I probably won't play the whole song, but let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. Y'all got time. You got time. All right, here we go. I'm trying to remember it. Bad when you don't remember stuff you wrote. Uh, I forgot that. I got to learn this song again. I got to learn the whole song. I know bits and pieces of it, but that song is called "The Good Work." If any of you guys are interested in that song, and I promise on the record, I don't sound that bad. But it's available everywhere on digital outlets. The Jermaine Morgan Band. If you just look up my name by itself, you won't find the song. So you got to look the Jermaine Morgan Band, and the name of the song is called "The Good Work." All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and here in my flub section. I mean my practice session. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully you got something out of this, and hopefully you got some enjoyment out of this, and hopefully, man, y'all see I'm having fun with this. It ain't always got to be perfect. I'm so glad I got delivered from everything having to be perfect all the time. It's so much freedom in that, enjoying what you do and knowing that it don't have to be perfect because you don't have anything to prove. You want to hear the song right, hear it on the record. I'll learn it, I'll clean it up. But putting the pressure, hopefully seeing me do this real time and have mistakes real time, it gives some of you guys encouragement to just have fun with the instrument. We're playing music. We're supposed to be having fun with this. So hopefully you guys seeing me do this, it encourages you to just loosen up, relax a little bit, and have fun with what you're doing because we have the times where we have it polished and sometimes we don't. And that's just the human thing. So we all human. We're all enjoying what we do. So anyway, Alfonso, I see you, man. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I will see you hopefully next week. All right. Have a blessed day. I'm out. Peace.